What's up guys, Devin is here and I'm really happy. This is actually my very first video that I am recording in my office after having kind of redone the entire thing. So I'm really thrilled. And in the last like 6 months, one of the plants that I have just loved watching grow is this beautiful plant, which I have two of. The Mini Monstera, or please don't yell at me for using that term. I know there's a lot of confusion or a lot of kind of unknown horticultural names behind this plant. Most people most commonly referred to as Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, but colloquially known as the Mini Monstera because it looks like a mini monstera. So I actually started with this plant over here, and then I took a cutting and then I planted it up in here, and this has just grown so darn quickly. I have just loved watching this grow. The only other plant I can think of that has propagated so successfully would be the Tradescantia zebrina, Tradescantia nanook, that you may have seen my video of recently when I was back in Colombia. Here I am in just outside of Philadelphia, and I wanted to show you guys how to take cuttings of the Mini Monstera, how to actually propagate them so that you can start your own plants. If you know someone that's growing this plant, get on their good side and then quickly, soon after, ask them for a cutting of this plant. Every house plant garden should have this because it is so easy, it's so beautiful, and it's such a fast growing plant. So, okay, let us look at where to actually take the cuttings from. All right, I think I have a good idea. So I'm gonna be taking a cutting from this guy because, you know, I like the look of kind of a single stem growing up, and this is nice and bushy. If you like the nice and bushy look, that's awesome, but I'm actually gonna take the cutting from this one. So when we're actually looking for a place to take the cutting, we wanna look and find a spot where you can visibly see one or two nodes. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Here is a node, there is a node, and then it continues to grow up there. With one or two leaves, that is really the max that you want. Always taking kind of like the more of the endmost growth is kind of my suggestion, because that growth, those sections are really nice and fresh, and they love to be propagated. So I'm actually gonna take the cutting and I'm gonna cut right below this because I want to put this node and I want to put that node in the water, okay? So this is a nice water propagation plant. So here I have my nice clean shears. I just cleaned them with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I want to make sure, you know, I've been doing a lot of pruning lately. You don't want to spread germs. You don't want to spread bacteria, pests. So always clean it before you go from one plant to the next, all right? So here you can see the little different angle. I'm going to take my clean shears and I'm going to cut it. We call this the internode because it's in between this node and this node, so hence the internode. That's exactly where we want to cut, all right? All right, so now we have our nice fresh cutting, including those two nodes like I was saying. Now because I'm going to be putting this node and this node in the water, what I want to do is I want to remove the lower leaf. Yes, it's sad, but it's all for the journey. And I'm also going to be removing this one as well. You don't want leaf material sitting in the water, okay? So here I have my nice cutting. And so I always like to put cuttings in fresh water in a clear glass container. And you can see the nodes are easily soaking in the water, but the petioles and the leaves are not in the water. So I have one that I had started about 8 weeks ago, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so now we are in my planting room. I have this big, beautiful container of potting substrate that I made up recently. Maybe you caught my video of kind of the blend that I like to use with a lot of my aeroids like monsteras and philodendrons, anthuriums, all those sort of plants. I have the video, check that out. It's a really easy formula to follow. It's no like crazy method. It's very, very simple, but I find that it is a great mix for starting cuttings into because it's light and airy and it has that good ratio of kind of the air in the soil mixed with moisture retention. So without further ado, you can see here is the cutting that I had previously started back in a few weeks ago. Now you see it just like this. Gorgeous roots. These roots are, you know, about as long as the cutting is tall. So that's a good indication that it's ready to be planted up. So this is actually kind of a larger container than I would traditionally use with a lot of fresh cuttings. I'd normally stick to like a small like 4-inch container. This is a 6-inch container, but the reason that I'm gonna be using this 6-inch container is because these Mini Monsteras are such robust growing plants, so easy that it's not gonna be any harm for this guy. Okay, let's get this all situated. Okay, so I have the soil just like this. Now I'm gonna use that water that it had been sitting in to just pre-moisten this substrate, okay? Use my hands, mix it around a little bit. I find that starting cuttings, if you pre-wet the soil substrate, it's easier to get the actual cutting into the container and for it to kind of stand upright, okay? So now I take the cuttings, take the cutting, and I made a little bit of a well, a little bit of hole in the middle, and I kind of am just going to gently caress those roots into the soil. And I'm gonna bury those 2 nodes that had been sitting in the water. I'm gonna bury those. So the stem is actually kind of like an angle. That's okay, that's perfectly all right. Don't fret. It may seem like, oh, you want the stem to be straight down. It really doesn't matter. The roots are gonna come out of those. They're gonna continue to come out of those nodes. So it's more important to have the petioles and these new leaves, and not new leaves, but have these leaves upright rather than having that stem upright. Okay, and also Mini Monstera, it's a climber. Give it something to climb on. Now it's gonna outgrow this container very, very quickly. Maybe in 3 months I'll be ready to repot it into the next size. But for the moment, it looks pretty darn cute. You can start to train it by just gently placing that leaf through one of these slots in the bamboo stake. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. Now I have 3. Anyways, that was a fun short little video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned, I have tons more videos. Now that my office is getting all set up and now that I'm back in America, I have way more plants to play with. Tons of pruning videos on the horizon for outdoor gardeners, as well as more propagation and houseplant care. Anyways, thanks for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I will catch you guys soon. Ciao.